Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, for the past few years, barely a month has gone by without a rise in house prices. Great news for homeowners, perhaps, but not for anyone hoping to buy. Small or non-existent wage rises have only added to the problem. But a new report out today said that home ownership in England has actually fallen to its lowest level for 30 years.
It was a former Prime Minister who wanted everyone in Britain to measure their success by owning their own home.
If you've been a council tenant for at least 3 years, you'll have the right by law to buy your house, and that's that.
Right, come on in. I'll show you the property.
But 3 decades on, and home ownership is at its lowest level in a generation.
So the first floor is...
Fewer people have their own property than at any point in the last 30 years. And it's not just in London, where they're being priced out. Martin's looking for his own place in Manchester after moving here from London. He says for first-time buyers the challenges are huge, from buy-to-let investors loaded with cash.
When I first came up here, I did look at apartments, and that was just ridiculous. I mean, they were gone almost as they came onto the marketplace. People almost had agents saying, when the next one comes on, you know, here's my details, I'll just take it.
In 2003, the average price for a property in Greater Manchester was just below £85,000. 12 years later, it had more than doubled, but average wages had only risen by just over 40%. No wonder then that fewer people are getting on the ladder, down nearly 15% over the 12-year period. Bricks and mortar have always been a British obsession, but the Right to Buy scheme ended in Scotland last month, and in the debate over how many new homes could and should be built, the answer is always more.
In 2009, we built the lowest number of homes in this country since the 1920s.
And we still are.
It was at about 90,000 then, and it's now up to about 170,000 new dwellings in the last year.
So we've got a standard 2-bed terrace property here.
This house in Bolton is on the market for just over 70,000 and is attracting interest from buy-to-let investors, but the agent selling says they can be outbid.
What enables the first-time buyers is that they're falling in love with the property, so they're not talking from the head, they're talking from the heart. Therefore, an investor from the head will pay less, from the heart they'll pay a bit more.
So the only way to be sure is to pay more, and if you can't afford it, you're shut out. Damon Green, News at 10, Manchester.
And if building houses is the answer, that would certainly help the construction industry. It is experiencing its fastest contraction for 7 years, which is, of course, food for thought for the Bank of England as it decides whether to cut interest rates on Thursday. Our business editor, Joel Hills, is here. Joel, is this Brexit, this contraction, in your view?
Up to a point, yeah, almost certainly. The Purchasing Managers Index, Tom, a survey of purchasing managers, is an attempt to sort of gauge the business mood and look at what intentions are regarding hiring and firing. And we get excited about it as journalists because the Bank of England gets excited about it as a pretty good indicator of which way the wind is blowing. Yesterday, the PMI figures for manufacturing were disappointing. Today, they showed that activity in the construction sector had slowed and that jobs were being lost. Now, it's too early to assess the full impact, the economic impact of Brexit, but there's compelling evidence here that at best the economy's slowing, at worst it's gone into reverse.
OK, interest rates are already very low, as we know. Will they go lower at the end of this week?
Almost certainly. The Bank of England has indicated that it's worried that, faced with all the uncertainty the referendum's thrown up, that businesses and households sit on their hands. It's determined to do something eye-catching. It will probably cut borrowing by cutting interest rates. It may also dust off the funding for lending scheme and expand its policy of QE, creating money and pushing it out into the economy. Now, remember, Boris Johnson, before the referendum, told us there would not be an economic shock if we voted to leave the EU. He was wrong. The Bank of England is now wrestling to contain it. We don't know what the price of the vote to leave the EU will be, but there will be one. It may not be big, and some people, of course, will argue that it's worth paying.
OK, Joel, thank you very much indeed.
I've been getting away with it all